Power doesn't always announce itself with applause. Sometimes it kicks the door in at night, whispers fear into entire nations, and dares the world to look away. Saddam Hussein was not just a dictator. He was a warning, a man who bent history around his will, then shattered it when he fell. And the scars he left behind still burn across the global storm fronts today. This is not a story about a monster born in a vacuum. It's about how ambition, brutality, and global politics collided to create one of the most dangerous rulers of the modern era. Saddam Hussein's rise did not come from privilege. He grew up poor, surrounded by instability, violence, and resentment. That environment didn't just shape him, it hardened him. From a young age, he learned that power was protection and fear was currency. He entered politics through underground movements and coups, not elections or debates. Loyalty mattered more than ideology. Silence mattered more than truth. By the time he officially took control of Iraq in 1979, Saddam had already mastered the art of survival in ruthless systems. His first move as leader was chilling. He purged rivals in a televised show of terror, forcing officials to confess imagined betrayals before being dragged away. The message was clear: obey or disappear. Once in power, Saddam ruled through an iron mix of nationalism, propaganda, and absolute violence. He styled himself as a modern strongman, borrowing imagery from ancient empires and 20th century dictators alike. He wanted to be seen as the unbreakable center of the nation. His intelligence services watched everyone. Neighbors informed on neighbors. Families vanished overnight. Torture was not a secret weapon. It was policy. Fear kept the system running smoothly because fear doesn't need convincing. And yet, Saddam was not irrational. He invested heavily in infrastructure, education, and military strength. He believed Iraq could be the dominant power of the Middle East, a regional giant standing toe-to-toe with the West. That belief would push him into catastrophic decisions. In 1980, Saddam launched a massive invasion of Iran, expecting, a quick victory. Instead, he ignited an 8-year war that drained both nations dry. Hundreds of thousands died. Chemical weapons were used. Entire cities were reduced to rubble. The conflict reshaped the region and honestly hardened Saddam's reliance on extreme force. The world watched and in many cases quietly supported him. As long as Saddam opposed Iran, global powers tolerated his brutality. This wasn't morality. This was strategy. History had seen this before. During World War II, alliances were forged with deeply flawed actors in the name of defeating a larger threat. Saddam benefited from that same cold logic. But prolonged war left Iraq exhausted and deeply in debt. Saddam's solution was not restraint. It was escalation. In 1990, Saddam invaded Kuwait. It was a move rooted in arrogance, desperation, and honestly, a fair bit of miscalculation. He believed the world would protest, then move on. Instead, a global coalition formed against him almost overnight. The Gulf War exposed the limits of Saddam's power. His massive army collapsed under precision airstrikes. His image as an unstoppable force cracked. Yet he survived, still clinging to control at home, even as international sanctions strangled Iraq's economy. Those sanctions devastated civilians while Saddam tightened his grip. Food shortages grew. Medicine vanished. The regime endured because fear still worked, and dissent still meant death. As the years passed, Saddam became, well, increasingly isolated. He trusted fewer and fewer people, you know. He was constantly moving between palaces, never staying in one place for too long. He relied almost entirely on family members and those inner-circle loyalists. Paranoia wasn't just a side effect for him. It was the operating system. Weapons inspections turned into this deadly game of deception. Saddam wanted to look strong, but without actually inviting an invasion. That balancing act, though, it failed spectacularly. In 2003, the United States and its allies invaded Iraq, citing weapons of mass destruction that, well, were never found. The regime collapsed in just a matter of weeks. The man who once ruled with absolute authority was discovered hiding underground, disheveled, defeated, and all alone. It was, honestly, one of the most dramatic downfalls in modern history. Saddam Hussein was captured, tried, and executed in 2006. For many, it felt like justice. For others, it opened a deeper wound. His death did not bring stability. It unleashed chaos. Iraq fractured along sectarian lines. Power vacuums formed, extremist groups flourished. The long shadow of Saddam's rule made rebuilding trust nearly impossible. Institutions built on fear do not transform overnight into systems of cooperation. This is the true scar Saddam left behind. Not just mass graves or ruined cities, but a nation struggling to heal from decades of enforced silence. Saddam Hussein matters because, well, his story is not unique. It's a pattern, you know. When fear replaces accountability, when power concentrates without limits, history repeats itself. World War II taught the world how dangerous unchecked leaders can become. Saddam proved that lesson did not fade with time. He was shaped by his environment, enabled by global politics, and destroyed by his own ambition. His legacy is a warning carved into modern history, reminding us that stability built on terror always collapses violently. At the scars of a global storm fronts, we don't tell these stories to glorify power. We tell them to understand it. Because understanding is the first line of defense against repeating the same mistakes. If this deep dive gave you clarity, insight, or maybe even a new way to see global history, hit that subscribe button, share this story, and stay with us. The scars of history don't fade on their own. We have to study them, confront them, and learn before the storm breaks again.